On the eve of California's 2024 election, a major court ruling deals a devastating blow to local control on housing decisions. You better get ready for a Section 8 housing project to end up in your neighborhood. Coming up, we'll tell you about the court ruling, why Gavin Newsom is celebrating, and what we're doing to fight back. I'm Carl DeMaio, chairman of Reform California, and we've got some bad news on the eve of California's 2024 election. And hopefully people are going to learn about this news and vote accordingly. Democrats have made it quite clear that they do not want local control on housing issues. Their view is that might makes right, that the developers should be able to put housing anywhere they want as long as they give a nice, big, fat contribution to politicians. Many communities are doing their best to approve housing projects, but the reality is this: not all housing projects are good. Some of them come in with too much density and not enough infrastructure or amenities. They don't pay their fair share of the impacts on roads, schools, and public safety infrastructure. And the developers are always looking to cut corners. There are many exceptions to this. I can tell you, as a former San Diego City Council member, there are some really good projects that actually generate community support. But there's also bad projects. And that's why you let the political system closest to the neighborhood affected deal with the issue. And that means your local planning board, made up of representatives that easily can get on the planning board just by walking door to door with no money. So they represent the grassroots, the real points of view of the neighborhoods. And of course, local city councils and county boards of supervisors. But Democrats in Sacramento, they want to eliminate the ability of local elected officials, local boards, to stop bad projects. They want the decision to be made in Sacramento where basically the politicians are shielded. And let me tell you the dirty little secret. There's a lot of local politicians that will claim, oh, I oppose this project, but Gavin Newsom forces me to do it. The state has tied my hands. I have no control. I'm with you, but I have to do it. They don't want to be held accountable for bad projects. That's what's going on. So a few years ago, I think 2019 was the year, 2020, SB 9 and SB 10 were passed. Both of these are bad bills. They're complete pro-development, unbridled development with no limitations. Democrats are big supporters of these bills. And these bills basically said that any developer can buy a single-family home plot and turn it into 4 units. And if it's near a transit hub, in other words, a bus stop, they can do 10 units. So basically, they've eliminated single-family zoning in California, but it gets worse. For cities that are not meeting state goals for housing, in other words, some bureaucracy in Sacramento arbitrarily says, hey, we think you should be building 10,000 homes every year, each and every year. Don't know where they came up with the number, but they just simply assigned that number to your city. If you're not meeting that goal, then if you deny a housing project, the developer can just build it anyway. It's called the builder's remedy. It is insane. Again, I'm for cutting red tape, but I'm not for cutting out the voice of the voter, the community member, on projects that are going to impact their neighborhood. And that's what SB 9 and 10 essentially do. We also know that Gavin Newsom wants to build government-subsidized housing projects throughout the state, welfare housing projects. And in fact, California has become so anti-business, so toxic to housing development, which is the real problem with our housing costs, that the only projects that seem to pencil out nowadays are projects that you, the taxpayer, are helping subsidize to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars per unit. Insane amounts of taxpayer money going into these housing boondoggles that don't reflect the caliber or character of the neighborhood, don't have the community support. And worse, a lot of them are going to be Section 8 welfare housing projects. I call them the drug dens. being put into every neighborhood. And Newsom has literally arrogantly said, everyone needs to do their share in putting homeless shelters in their neighborhoods. No, how about we get to the root cause of homelessness, the broken person, rather than saying, let's take a broken person and put them into a neighborhood at taxpayer expense. Okay, so that's where we are. Fortunately, a couple cities said, we're not going to play ball on this. We're going to sue. Huntington Beach decided to sue the state of California, saying, we do not want to approve housing projects if they don't fit the character and the support of our community. Newsom, of course, said, we're not going to let you off the hook. And a federal court just ruled this week. And that is right here, Ninth Circuit sides with California, state of California, in housing mandate fight with Huntington Beach. And so what basically Huntington Beach was arguing in federal court, because in state court, we're never going to make progress. But in federal court, they said that the politicians in Sacramento are requiring us to make findings that a project is good and environmentally sustainable and has public support and pays for infrastructure. All these findings they're requiring us to make because the law requires that when we approve projects, we have to say these things. But we can't say these things because it's not true. So what was very clever about this lawsuit, and I knew this was a long shot lawsuit, by the way, was that Huntington Beach was going to federal court saying, we know the state can mandate that we do certain things, but they cannot mandate that we use our speech when we don't actually believe in what we're about to say. Very clever. I didn't think the lawsuit was going to prevail, and here you go. The Ninth Circuit said, no, you can't claim that you don't really believe it. If you don't like what the state law is requiring you to do, educate the voters and change the state law. So you can understand the frustration that all of us have that oppose these pro unbridled development, put a homeless shelter, put a Section 8 housing project in every neighborhood mandate that they put on the table in California. Of course, Newsom is taking a victory lap. California claims victory against Huntington Beach's NIMBY attempt. NIMBY, not in my backyard. You damn right, not in my backyard. I don't want a drug den in my backyard. I'm okay with good, sustainable housing that fits the character of a community, that has community support. I'm not for housing that brings filth and too much density and unacceptable impacts into a community. I'm not for a housing law that says you can buy a single family home and tear it down and put 10 units on it. That's insane. It's actually anti-property right. And no society has ever survived if you basically got property rights. Our founding fathers understood that. So Newsom is taking a victory lap. Look, you need to know the dirty little secret. Politicians from both political parties are in the pockets of developers. And again, I am not anti-development. I am not anti-housing. I want more housing development. I want more investment in California. But the right way to do that is to make California more attractive to the right housing development, not say, well, because we've made it so toxic for people to invest in market-based housing, let's go ahead and do government subsidies. And then let's cram government subsidized housing projects down the throat of neighborhoods with so much density and no accountability or contribution to the impacts that we ruin the caliber and the quality of life in the neighborhood. That's wrong. That's not how you do land use. That's not how other states do land use. Why are we doing this crazy approach to housing approvals in California? So we need to push back, and that's why I want you to know about this court case as we head to the final hours of the election. Spread the word by sharing this video with your friends, family, and neighbors, but also give them our plain English voter guide at reformcalifornia.org, reformcalifornia.org. It contains all of the descriptions of the ballot measures so that you know what you're voting on. It also has endorsements for state legislators all the way down to local city council members. And this is important for all these housing decisions because the state legislature created SB 9 and 10 and are part of that problem. And of course, your local city council members are not pushing back hard enough. They're using SB 9 and 10 as excuses as to why they're going to approve a bad project in your neighborhood. So get that voter guide and start telling Republican politicians, look, you can be pro-business, but you don't have to be anti-neighborhood. You got to stop sucking up to rich developers. Support good development projects. And there are a lot of good developers and a lot of good development projects out there, but stop sucking up to government subsidized housing developers who are putting basically drug dens in our neighborhoods, or are putting projects that are so dense in the wrong places without the infrastructure. We need people who are going to fight for the little guy, the voice of the people. That's a conservative principle, and we need to return to it in California. So check out those voter guides in the final hours of the election. Share those voter guides with all your friends and family. Know what's going on local housing decisions in your area because of this court case and other legislation like SB 9 and 10. Until next time, Carl DeMaio, Chairman of Reform California. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this episode. But before you click away, please subscribe to this channel and click that notification button so you get updated when we post new episodes. Plus, like this video and share it with your friends so that we can help spread our message across the state. Reform California with Carl DeMaio is paid for by Carl DeMaio for State Assembly.